Time for the main event. It's the Shoeshine.
All right. It's your boy Dave from the 408 coming to you all the way from my podcast studio in San Jose, Califas. Joining me tonight for another edition of the Shoeshine, Philadelphia's Philly Irish. It ain't Stephen Fulton, it's Mr. Drew Evo. ¿Qué pasa? What's up, homie?
The better version.
Now, I know people in Philadelphia must be excited because your boy Stephen Fulton, in a very controversial fight, I might say, I thought it was a fantastic fight, but controversial decision. People are still chiming in on whether or not it was a draw, if Brandon Figueroa got robbed, or if it was a gift decision. We're going to get to that and so much more. But Drew, thank you for holding it down yesterday on our friend Raw Boxing. Shout out to Raw Boxing. Shout out to everyone over at HCP. Our homeboy G Funky's making an announcement right now. And shout out to everybody who's been riding with the Shoeshine right now. Saludos, Maestro. Of course, Maestro, who did an amazing job. By the way, Drew, I don't know if you saw, but Maestro interviewed Lou DiBella as well as a lot of other people. So I will leave the phone lines open because Maestro, if anybody, I'd like to hear about the experience at the Madison Square Garden, the legendary garden. I'd love to hear your perspective of what went down with Teofimo because that's the story we're going with right now. I mean, I went to Vegas the week before, but who cares? Saludos to Nando Lamas. Saludos. I'll open up the chat. Sonteo Media, saludos. Maestro, I just said hello, Maestro, if you want to call in and let us know what went down. But Drew, George Kambosos, now that is who we really need to be praising about. Now, I will give everyone an opportunity because Teofimo Lopez did something, in my opinion, when he beat Lomachenko, he made history of his own. And doing so in less than 16 fights, nearly becoming undisputed. If it's not for the whole situation with the WBC and Devin Haney and the whole email championship, he would be undisputed. But then that would mean that George Kambosos is undisputed as well. So is that narrative dead?
You know what? WBC puts up a lot of narratives. Like, don't even listen to WBC. He wasn't undisputed. It's a franchise belt. Doesn't mean crap. So no, he's not undisputed.
Okay, well, we're all looking forward to seeing Devin Haney back in action because there's one guy in the lightweight division that I had been thinking about all year, and I was thinking, first of all, the whole Four Kings narrative, that whole Four Kings bullshit that was brought upon us in 2021 during COVID. Oh, there's 4 kings in the lightweight division. Devin Haney, Teofimo Lopez, Ryan Garcia. We started off the Shoeshine on YouTube talking with our boy Rob Boxing about Ryan Garcia, who came out of the woodworks this weekend after seeing Kambosos win all those belts. He's jumping in the mix. Even had Oscar De La Hoya on Twitter saying, hey, let's make it happen. How convenient, right? How convenient. All of a sudden now everybody wants to fight Kambosos, but nobody was screaming to fight Teofimo, to his credit, right?
Oh, man. Ryan Garcia is a joke.
But
So is Oscar.
he claims he wants some. Guys, I just remind everybody the phone line is open at 702-710-3627. Yeah, Ryan Garcia jumped on social media really quickly to get on board that Kambosos train. We do have a caller, so why not start the show with a call? Let's take this call. All right, 718, you're on the Shoeshine.
Yo, it's 718. It's the BX. It's Maestro, a.k.a. El Negrito Causando Pánico. What is good, Shoeshine Boxing?
Maestro, pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for calling. I did catch a lot of your content, and it was really, really good stuff. I saw you asking Ludabella some very pointed questions, right?
Yeah, Ludabella was keeping it real, as he usually does Saturday. I caught him after the fight, semi-media scrum, was just being a couple other dudes. The funny thing is, right after the fight, they wouldn't allow him onto the ring apron. And it was like a Charles Oakley moment with the Madison Square Garden security detail. Like it looked like he was about to get into a huge fight with them. But cooler heads prevailed, and they let him get to his fighter, although it wasn't for the announcement as him as a winner. But they did give him access to the ring after it was wild, man. He was like swearing, and they were trying to like move him and touch him, and he just wasn't having it. But by the time I got to him, he'd calmed down, and he said what I think is the truth. I mean, his guy, don't forget, Kambosos isn't signed to Matchroom. He's not signed to Top Rank. He's not signed to the PBC. He's a fighter signed to a smaller promotional outfit. And I think that's actually good for boxing. And he's got options. He's, as he put it, he's the emperor now at 135 pounds. He's gone into enemy territory multiple times and has come out on top. So, yeah, definitely. It was a good little interview with him. I got to speak to Marco Antonio Barrera briefly. I saw Dimitri Salita there. And I got the most gems, honestly, I got, Dave, was from Dean White, the older brother and manager of Dillian White. He was there with Craig Richards, the British light heavyweight, and I spoke to them as well.
Nice. Something strange happened that I didn't see on the DAZN broadcast, but maybe you saw it being there, was that they gave the microphone to Bubu Andrade, who was trying to pitch his own struggles, pitch a fight, right? Did they do that? I saw him sitting in the balcony with a microphone in hand.
Well, it was interesting. They had two fighters go up there, two Matchroom fighters. Or maybe the other one isn't a Matchroom fighter, actually, but I think he might have options on Bumgarner. She was there too. But yeah, I mean, they tried to kind of give him a platform. The DJ was bigging him up, calling him the most avoided fighter at middleweight. And honestly, the fans weren't really having it. I mean, the most amount of boos that night, believe it or not, were for Teo, followed by Kambosos during the ring walk, followed by Bubu Andrade. The fans didn't really seem to want to hear from him. They did, though, cheer Bumgarner, who the DJ announces the baddest bitch in the building.
Okay, Alicia Bumgarner, who's making her own waves on social media with Michaela Mayer. Congratulations to her for her big upset. This has been a year of upsets, right? Alicia Bumgarner went across the pond. All of a sudden, she's thrust onto that international stage as a new champion. Michaela Mayer wants it. But as far as upsets go, and I'm going to ask both of you guys, is this single-handedly the biggest upsets? And there's been a string of them in 2021, but is this the biggest upset in boxing in 2021? And I'll start with Drew.
Kambosos Teofimo, yes.
And okay, a simple yes. Maestro, is this the single-handedly the biggest upset in boxing this year?
I think that it's definitely got to be up there. Look, we live in the U.S. media landscape, right? Mm-hmm. And, clearly what we consume here is, going to skew our perspective on these things. I mean, what are some of the other ones? Alexander Usyk, Anthony Joshua. I actually picked Alexander Usyk in that fight. There was obviously Sandor Martin
versus Mikey.
Getting the decision over Mikey Garcia, right? I mean, that was another big upset. But off the top of my head, I think, I mean, the guy walked into this ring with, depending on who you're asking, between 3 or 4 world titles. He was at least the undisputed champion. He was at least the man in the division. And it wasn't just that he got beat. I mean, look, I wasn't listening to the Spanish commentary. I didn't agree with what Marco Antonio Barrera told me after the fight, which is just that it was a close fight that could have gone either way. I thought it was I thought he got beat up, man. And I mean, if you don't believe me, I mean, look at his face after the fight. 2 swollen eyes all over, gashed left side of his face, leaking blood for the last 2 rounds, sent to the emergency room. His dad said that he was going to send, Kambosos Jr. to the nearest hospital. And I was there for the walkout with the ER, with the ringside physician who I actually spoke to. And they walked him out to the ambulance, and the ambulance, confirmed by Eddie Hearn, took him to the ER. It was a beating that he sustained at the hands of Kambosos Jr. And, I think not only the fact that he was not favored going into the fight, but the fact that he laid down the kind of beating that he did, including knocking him down in the first round. And guys, I got to tell you, I was there live. That was not a flash knockdown. And if you listen to Teofimo Sr. after the first round, the fact that he's even trying to convince his son that he wasn't hurt speaks volumes.
Yeah, I do have that clip. I want to play that clip so bad, but Meister, being on YouTube, that DAZN, they'll be the first to strike the show down over like the smallest clip. And I do have that flash. At first, I thought it was a flash knockdown, but looking upon it, man, in slow, it was a thunderous counter right hand. I mean, you could hear it without the commentary. You can find the clip yourself, and you can hear how thunderous that counter right hand was. I did have Teofimo winning that round up until that happened, but I mean, Kambosos was so patient, waiting to counter with his, and you saw Teofimo come in with his hands down, throwing that lazy shot. So even while you were there, what was the response from the crowd? I mean, he had nobody, although he's been down, look, no one can remember.
It was a raucous crowd. They were chanting Teo, Teo, Teo. The DJ kept asking, "Where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn at?"
Oh yeah.
Trying to really play to his like Brooklyn roots. It was a raucous crowd, but despite what Teo Sr. said, it wasn't the arena. He didn't sell out the arena. It was impressive what he did. It was a great atmosphere, but it was in the small room. There's probably about 5,500 people there, and they were shocked when he went down. They didn't know quite what they had just seen, and the energy in the room switched after that knockdown, and it went from let's see this guy knock out this boy in less than a round to let's cheer him on to try to get him back into this fight. And there were certain moments in the fight actually where people actually started cheering for Kambosos, who was playing to the crowd, doing the Sugar Ray roundup before throwing punches. But look, if you're in the UK, back to your original question, Drew, is it bigger than Lara over Warrington? There's a question there. Is it bigger than Kiko over Galahad? There's a question there.
Which was very recent.
Look,
in my
we don't
memory.
live in the UK. We live in the United States, right? So yeah, I mean, we don't live in England. We live in the United States, and from where I'm sitting here at 10:59, almost 11 p.m. Eastern here in the Bronx, New York, this was the biggest upset.
Go ahead, Drew.
I look at it like this, how, because the British people viewed boxing a lot differently than us. Like,
True.
They would really look at their main guys like the kid Gallahan, Wallington, and view them as big stars. That they're well noticed. Like we reviewed our guys, but we also viewed guys that are from different countries as bigger stars, as some of the bigger stars also in the United States. Because those guys that they talk about in the UK, they haven't had that pleasure in going to the United States to have fights yet, to get notice and everything, like some of these other UK fighters have. So they review, like, like, let's say that this weekend you're going to have Anthony Yard versus Arthur, I forget his last name, but they have a rematch. It's a big rematch.
Lyndon Arthur. King Lyndon Arthur.
Lyndon Arthur versus Anthony Yard in a big participating light heavyweight British rematch when Arthur beat Yard.
Oh, yeah.
And in the United States,
with one hand.
Yeah, he did it one hand. I saw that fight. He clearly did it one hand. But in the United States, that fight's not well noticed because no one really cares about it because, hey, Anthony Yard is well known for getting stopped by Sergey Kovalev in Moscow. No one's ever heard of Lyndon Arthur yet.
While you guys are talking about we're talking foreign now. And let's get back to Kambosos because, Maestro, you pointed out he is holding all the cards now. And Bob Arum saw the market demand in Australia years ago when he implored Manny Pacquiao to go down there and fight this little-known welterweight Jeff Horn. Does Kambosos hold all the cards to demand anyone who wants a shot at it to come to Australia? He mentioned he could sell out 80,000 seats. That's something we haven't seen stateside.
And I believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe it. At this point, there's very few stadium fighters in the world. There's Joshua, arguably Fury if he gets the right opponent in England. There's Canelo, obviously. Believe it or not, there's Costa's son, Tim Tszyu. He's already shown himself to be a stadium fighter. During the pandemic, actually, he fought in the stadium. And you know that if he gets a big fight, like again, the Castaño against the Charlo, that's big blockbuster business in Australia. But yeah, I believe it. The Australians, they support their athletes, not just boxers, but all athletes. It's a big sports country. You know, it's about the size of New York State in terms of its population, but look at what they could accomplish. Basketball even, football / soccer, athletics / track and field. They also play cricket and rugby and boxing and got swimmers that win gold medals at the Olympics. Like if you look at Australia at the Olympics, like they're well spread out across, various sports, and they show up to support their athletes. So I got no doubt that he'd get a big showing in Australia. And yeah, I mean, how could he not hold all the marbles, right? I mean, there's the only other person's Devin Haney. Devin Haney's got to get past Jo Jo. I don't even know if that's going to happen. I'm waiting until Friday's weigh-in before I make my prediction on it. But look, he holds the chips. And the good thing about his position, he's not aligned to an Eddie Hearn Matchroom. He's not aligned to a PBC or to a top rank. So he can fight whoever. And imagine him against a Tank Davis, even if the PBC / Mayweather promotions decide that they think that that's a winnable fight for Tank. That's a huge fight. So he definitely holds the cards, bro.
It's crazy because we're gonna get a chance to see two of the top best lightweights aside from Kambosos. Not that Teofimo was not the guy. He was the guy up until this Saturday. And again, I want to send a shout out to Nanda who thinks. I want to make it clear. I'm actually the one putting the pictures up, so it's not Drew who's trying to kick a man down. I didn't want to make that the point of my show today because I really was proud of what Teofimo had accomplished with his father. But I wanted to ask the chat, and while I have you on the phone too, and Drew, because there's so many issues behind the scenes that culminated in Teofimo losing this Saturday. We know that he's spoken.
Well, let's talk about it.
He's talked about his wife leaving him, which I thought was a rumor. I came back from Las Vegas, had no idea. I came on one of the HCP shows in the chat, and I saw someone say his wife just left him. I thought, this is some bullshit. This is a rumor. I mean, this can't be true. Lo and behold, the video comes out. It's like coming out of his mouth.
He said it on the show.
Exactly. I'm like, wow, what did I miss? You're in the middle of a separation while having your first child. You know, when you get married, you marry into the family, right? I have no clue what's going on, but we just see what's been going on with Teofimo Sr. in the limelight, which was a complete disaster this entire year leading up. I honestly think had Teofimo fought Kambosos months, maybe 3 months after that historic win over Lomachenko, this might have been a completely different out, right? Drew, maybe?
Well,
anyone?
Yeah, I mean, it could be. It could be, but honestly, we don't know that. And the fact is, he didn't want to go fight in Australia.
Well, let's look at it like this. Oh, my bad, Nitro.
No, go for it, bro.
Now, I was just saying, we can't really look at that. What if it was 5 months back and they fought 5 months back? Because end of the day, they fought. The white man won. Teofimo got his ass whooped. And I know Nando wants to say I'm a fanboy of his narratives and everything. But at the end of the day, the dude got his ass whooped. It doesn't matter when they fought. The dude got his ass whooped. Period.
Off the top of the head.
Yeah, and here's the thing with it. Sorry, go ahead, Dave.
I was going to ask you off the top of your head, Maestro. I'm curious what you think the number one factor to Teofimo losing this weekend was. Was it his relationship with his father? Was it his family woes with his wife? Was it the lack of preparation or just not taking...
Teofimo Sr.
Teofimo Sr. at the top of the ticket.
Teofimo Sr. I mean, he was very cocky going into the fight. You know, he predicted a first round KO. He was confidently saying that he could just divulge the game plan and that the game plan was to walk him down and to get him up out of there in one round. Clearly, they didn't do their homework. They didn't realize that this is a guy with a granite chin, and he showed that on Saturday. This is a guy who's got defensive skills, who's got good in and out movement, good lateral movement, sets up his shots very well, has good punch variety, hooks off the jab tremendously. I mean, he was catching Teo with that repeatedly, that hook off the jab, then he'd mix it up, he'd throw a double jab, then he'd come back, hook off the jab, then double jab, hook off the jab. I mean, he wasn't throwing the same thing at him every single time. He was varying the attack constantly. He underestimated him. And look, I posted this on my channel. I showed it tonight on Mano a Mano Live with Kenny T. We also did a live yesterday afternoon. Usually before a big fight, the trainer is in the change room with his fighter, getting him ready, whether it's the mitts, whether it's going over strategy, whether it's even a motivational talk, you name it, the trainer's back there. He wasn't doing that. Basically what they did was they paraded 8 belts out. They had a DJ gassing up the crowd, and then Teofimo Sr. wasn't in the back with his son. He was literally dancing to DJ music while other people held up the belts. And he was playing to the audience. You know, they didn't take this dude seriously. But a world champ is supposed to take his opponent seriously. And at the end of the day, a loss is a loss. And Teo said it himself after the Wilder Fury fight, Wilder Fury 2, nobody cares about excuses. All they remember is the loss.
And he started to come up with them almost instantaneously.
Right away. So, I mean, in this case, they're not even making excuses. They're just blaming it on referees and saying that they won the fight. You know, the dad is out there saying they won 10 rounds to 2. Teo said 10 rounds to 2 immediately after the result was announced. And believe it or not, Teofimo Sr. believes that they're just going to go back to Top Rank because the zone fucked it up, and that their next 2 fights are going to be pay-per-view, and the second fight's going to be against Josh Taylor. I mean, the level of delusion is unreal, and honestly, I just feel bad for the son. This is all on the dad. I mean, I can't blame a kid for being a product of his environment. Like,
Right.
look at the clown shit he did by storming the what was it, the
Kambosos.
open media workout, and then getting draped up by the collar by George Kambosos Sr. I mean, it was and then crying to security while it was happening. I mean, the whole thing is clown shit.
Well, he got away with something like that with Lomachenko in a hotel at the hotel, and that's how they managed to get Loma's attention. So he went back to his, bag of old tricks, thinking he'd be successful. But I did see.
But that was to get the fight.
Yeah, this. They've already had the fight.
That was to get the fight. This was the week of the fight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also saw what you had mentioned about what was shocking that we weren't, we didn't get to see this watching it on television, was that it appeared he was having a meet and greet before his son was about to fight, when he should have been in the room with him, in the green room with his son.
Yeah, I mean, it was more than a meet and greet. It was welcome to the Teofimo Senior show. A DJ playing my song while I dance to it. I'm not even exaggerating. Just go to my channel. I posted the video there on Mano a Mano Live. We went over it yesterday. I might even post it just independently so that people could look at it. I mean, the man let the boy down at the end of the day. Like, everything I've clowned the kid for, honestly, has been his father's doing. He's just a kid at the end of the day. And I don't know where he goes from here, because every fight from at 140 is tough.
No, I completely agree.
But I mean it.
Even Arnold Barboza, who's been trying to get a fight. Arnold Barboza, I think, is a very solid prospect at 140, a California product. He's been clamoring for an opportunity to showcase what he can do against Teofimo. So like you
100%.
said, his introduction to 140 at top
Victor
rank.
Postal.
Oh, God, don't even get me started on Victor Postal. All wrong for Teofimo.
The name, it's not like he's walking himself into a title at 140. Josh Taylor's not going to fight him. What is there in it for Josh Taylor at this point?
And he recognized that. He recognized that post-fight interview. He said, I should have abandoned those belts like all the others do. Because he knew now with that loss, shit, I'm not going to get that Josh Taylor fight right off the bat. I'm going to have to work for it at 140. And they've got a really solid crop of fighters. Like you said, you mentioned, you didn't even mention Ivan Barancek, who, although he's a tough out for anybody, right? There's a Puerto Rican fighter who just had a loss that someone mentioned on HCP that I thought would be very good, is Josue Vargas.
You're talking about Josue Vargas, yeah, who got KO'd by Zepeda. I mean, they're all tough fights, bro.
I really don't see this.
Even Mikey Garcia, does he beat Mikey Garcia at 140? Does he beat Sandor Martin at 140?
Ooh, those are all good questions.
I mean, his
Mikey
fellow
Garcia.
Spanish compatriot, Sandor Martin. I mean, I don't know.
I'll be honest. I think he gets stopped by Josh Taylor. I think Josh Taylor knocks Teofimo out. I think Regis Prograis beats Teofimo. I think Jose Morales and Teofimo is a 50-50 fight. Pastor can cause a lot of problems to Teofimo. Mikey Garcia, I see beating Teofimo. Barancek is a good fight. Zepeda, it might be a difficult fight. Vargas could be a difficult fight. He's going to have a lot of problems, because the thing is, his weakness has not been worked on. His weakness came in the Lomachenko fight. He has a problem backing up. He does not have an inside game. They both came alive during this Kambosos fight. He took advantage of his weaknesses. They have not worked on his weaknesses at all. It doesn't even seem, the only way that they trained probably is when they were on camera. That's what it seemed like.
Guys, there's the road to his future success. And
Well,
I'm talking
let me
about,
ask you this, Dave.
Sure.
Got one question for you. What does he do against Mario Barrios at 140?
Wow, I just saw Chicano. Shout out to Chicano Prophet. He put that in the chat right now, and I'm thinking that's exactly the level of opposition he needs.
Great minds think alike.
That's what he needs. He needs a confidence booster. Someone that you definitely know is not going to hurt him, but still has a recognizable name. But the problem, he's at PBC. So who, like you mentioned, Josue Vargas, who's coming off a tough knockout loss of his own. These are guys who have a good skill set, but are in-house at Top Rank, fights that can be easily made. He needs to build his confidence. But personally, in my opinion, and I mentioned this on Chicano's Prophet's show, Al Chile, last Wednesday, was that he can't go forward. This is before Saturday. I said, going forward, he has to let go of his father. He's got to separate ways with his dad because his dad's in a position also as an advisor, and clearly he's making all the wrong choices for his son. Agree or disagree?
Well, what my partner Kenny T, shout out to Big Kenny T, King Kenny T, KO Kenny, King Kong Kenny. He seems to think that he should just keep him on as a cheerleader, as a hype man.
That's what he
the
does
only
best.
thing I disagree with that about is
That's what he was during the
what he does
weekend.
best.
Hype
But the
man.
problem is that his ego's too big for that. His ego's too big for it. If you notice, the pronouns he uses, it's always I and we. It's never Teo.
I'm gonna be
is
honest.
he gonna let go?
I'm gonna be real honest about this. I really see this getting worse if his dad stays on as the main trainer. Maybe as assistant trainer, but I think his dad's still gonna we gotta listen to what I say and everything, because all he was doing during that fight was cursing at him. He was like, "Oh, we got this, man. You got this. We got this." Like, you've only ever given him advice and everything. You feel like he was winning the fight. How is he winning a fight?
No, I played the audio after the first round on my show. I played the audio after the 8th round. It wasn't even bad advice. It was like bad advice that conflicted with bad advice. No one would be able to follow it. It was incoherent. People are even questioning whether he was sober on Saturday night. Like, it was that bad. Look, I'm looking at the chat now that you mention it. I agree with Chicano. It's time to drop Senior. The question is, honestly, I think the guy's unhinged. Does it cause more problems and issues than it's worth? Legit question. Like, what would this guy do if he was fired?
We have not seen upper echelon fighters like Kenny Porter and Sean Porter. We have not seen them. I can't remember of one separating recently. Ruben Guerrero and Robert
Miguel
the Ghost
Cotto,
Guerrero.
his dad?
Yeah, I haven't. If someone can,
No, the best.
Mm-hmm.
The best father trainer in the sport, to me, it's not even close. It's Chingo Inoue. You never hear from the guy.
Right.
Even when they're interviewing his son after a fight, he's out of the picture. And look at what he's done with the monster, right? With Noia. And even his son is a championship level fighter that fought and won an interim title. Best father trainer in the sport by far. And one of the reasons is he lets his son shine. He steps away from the spotlight. He's silent. He's by far, to me, the best father trainer in the sport. I think Boots Ennis' dad is really good too. And also, you got to mention Papachenko too, obviously, as well. But I think Chingo Inoue is ahead of both of them.
Yeah, recently we had a conversation with Sonteo Media, who's very friendly with the people at Robert Garcia. And that Virgil Ortiz is parting ways. That was controversial, the way it was released, the information. Mike Coppinger jumped on that story a few weeks ago. But we talked extensively about Virgil Sr. and how quiet he is and how he seems to have his son's best interests. That's a tough thing to leave a Hall of Fame trainer like Robert Garcia. But if it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. But I don't even know what Virgil Sr. looks like, which is a testament to what you're talking about with Inoue. Like, he's not in the media enough for me to even recognize his face.
The real question is,
Facts, because
who would be able to tolerate Senior to be able to train Teofimo?
Somebody posted Buddy.
Well, that was my point. I mean, the guy, at least to me, seems to be unhinged. He's clearly living vicariously through his son. I don't think he let go to the point where he would let another guy do his job. I mean, it's like LeVar Ball meets Angel Garcia. I mean, it's like the both of those worlds. And I don't know if you guys remember with LeVar Ball when Lonzo Ball came into the league. You know,
Yeah, I watched a lot
NBA
of
franchises were literally worried about even dealing with this kid because of his dad's helicopter parenting and involvement. You know what I mean? So I mean, I honestly don't know. But listen, guys, great show. Keep it up. Gonna keep supporting you guys. You guys are supporters of mine, so I'm gonna be supporters of yours. Love the content, and gonna sit back and listen and enjoy the rest of the show.
I appreciate that so much. I know you teach the kids, so thanks a lot for calling, Maestro, and keep us afloat with all the Maestro news, man. Great channel. Thank you, Maestro.
100%. Thank you so much. You take care.
Take care, man. That was a nice call from Maestro Drew. And shout out to everybody who's here. Run PMC just joined us. We were talking about Teofimo. Where does he go from here? Do me a favor and just drop the comment where he goes from here, because Drew, I really think after reading some of the stories that I shared with you, even my wife found some stories from like black hip hop magazines online. Like they seem to have like these juicy details about what's going on behind the scenes that regular boxing media, and I can't like, I told my wife, I don't know if that shit's real. I mean, it's kind of tabloid, but if anybody needs help with mental help right now, it's probably him. Like nothing in Ryan Garcia's life indicates to me that he needs to take these long layoffs, but like going through a separation, just having a baby, nearly going broke. They said he had $20,000 in his pocket after earning $1.5 million last year. He had 20. He was down to his last 20K. Then you got your dad. I know that he bought his dad, or like he bought everybody a house in Vegas, a big mansion, as well as one in the East Coast. Like he's got too many people riding on his coattails, taking money from like, I mean, this is a disaster waiting to happen, man. He probably needs to see a good sports psychologist like Anthony Joshua did when he was upset by our tiny little Mexican American. He went and saw a sports therapist to get himself right. I think Teofimo Lopez needs to take 6 months off next year, grow into the weight, get a comeback fight against somebody that's not going to be a tremendous threat. I mean, he just needs to get his confidence. But in between now and then, he's got to figure out how to kick his dad to the curb, which if anybody knows, I mean, that's not no easy task, man, especially when your dad's primary source of income is what he's built with his son, man. I don't see it happening. I feel bad. I'm gonna say this right now because I know you probably don't, but I feel bad for the predicament Teofimo is in. He's gonna have to grow a real big set of balls now and figure out how to get his life together and be in control of his own destiny.
I feel bad for him, but the thing is, man, when you feel that you have it all, like, you know, like the world is yours, Scarface reference, and everything, man. And then your dad, you know, your dad isn't really the right guy to take care of your business in a matter of, like, you know, because tell you the truth, you shouldn't be blaming DAZN, because number one, DAZN was the one that technically, it was the second in line that won that bet. If you should be mad at somebody, you should be mad at Top Rank because they did not believe in you. They did not buy into you. And tell you the truth, your fight was not worth what Triller paid for it. And it was barely worth what Matchroom paid for it. So you overvalue yourself because you got humbled because you beat Lomachenko. You got too humble for it. And you barely beat the dude. And people were debating on that fight. While your dad was saying, Oh, it's 11-1.
Well, maybe Drew was debating on it, right?
A lot of people were debating. People were telling me. I was on a podcast, Dave, and they were saying they thought it was a draw, and I was like, it wasn't a draw. I had Teofimo winning that fight 7-5. I said, I was like, and I thought Loma was going to win the fight, but I told him like this: he got too humbled off that Lomachenko win.
Well, listen,
and he did. Yeah.
It's time to switch directions because we carried on about this one way too long. One thing right away about the Fulton fight, and I tweeted about this. I think Nando may have responded to me, man, but I'm sick and tired of fighters wearing mariachi outfits. Okay, he said they're trolling. I'm like, okay, Floyd did it against Oscar De La Hoya some 10 years back. It's been a really long time, and now it's a tradition, right? Let's mock the Mexican American. I think it's mocking. I don't know if it's just like harmless trolling. I'm a fan of Fulton. I was a fan of Fulton. I'm still a fan of Fulton. I mean, I think he's a very gifted technician, but this is a step he didn't have to go to. And even the boxing promoter, Boxing Mom, was like, enough, guys. Like, chill, okay? Floyd did it 10 years ago. Like, we're not all charros, okay? We're not all mariachis. But even more so, we're talking about controversy. I got the scorecard here, Drew. And you had a great discussion with Raw Boxing last night on his show. Shout out to Raw Boxing, because I didn't watch this fight with the same fervor I was watching, of course, Lopez versus Kambosos. I was just watching it, had my eye on the TV, and I thought it was a hell of a fight. They had thrown over 1,000 punches before the 7th round, I think. And that's an incredible fight for anybody who enjoys all action. Specifically a phone booth type fight, classic throwback Mexican fighter. Here's the scorecards, Drew. David Sutherland had it a draw. That was my feeling watching it without scoring it, that it was either a draw or it was Brandon Figueroa, because Brandon Figueroa rocked Stephen Fulton in several rounds, at least on 2 occasions, visibly rocked Stephen Fulton. And that was enough for me as a casual eye to say, hey, Brandon Figueroa pulled this one off. And I know a lot of people agree with me. However, we get back into how do you score fights and effective aggression. And I do have to agree, Stephen Fulton landed the cleaner, harder shots. Brandon Figueroa just throws a million of them, to touch you anywhere, shoulders, anywhere. He'll just touch you anywhere. And eventually something did land on Fulton that seemed to hurt him. And that swayed me to think Figueroa pulled it off. Other scorecards here, 116-112, Dave Moretti, 116-112, Tim Cheatman. I know I heard you, but for the Shoeshine audience, and you're from Philadelphia, did you have Stephen Fulton winning this?
Yeah, I did. I really thought he won the fight. Like, you're not gonna be a guy that's just gonna throw punches all the time, like all over the place, and not land them all, and expect to win a fight and everything. When the other guy is landing precise punches, effective punches on you, and more clean punches on you, even though it was a phone booth fight. Which, tell you the truth, I'm not all big on phone booth fights all the time, because I want to see guys like really go toe to toe and everything. They're really hard to score, but you can see the effective punching from Stephen Fulton in this fight.
But you can also see that he was getting rocked.
He was getting rocked too, but in the rounds that Figueroa won, they're the rounds he got rocked in. But Figueroa, the only success he really had was he was on the ropes when he had Fulton on the ropes. Other than that, you're in the middle of the ring. Fulton had the edge. Like, he fought your fight, and he beat you fighting your fight. At the end of the day, I didn't like the way Brandon Figueroa crashed the interview. Like, it was like another sore loser type of thing and everything. Fulton offered a rematch. Gave him his pump, say, hey, it's a close fight, man.
Yeah, I agree. There was good sportsmanship from Stephen Fulton for sure. He did offer him an immediate rematch. was a little bit classless of Brandon Figueroa to, I don't know if he had been watching the Teofimo Lopez fight backstage.
I don't know.
But he came out kind of like a sore loser, which I didn't expect. It was a very close fight. I think Brandon Figueroa should have jumped on that immediately when Stephen Fulton offered him to do it over. Let's do it again.
But here's the messed up part. Once that happened, he's like, oh, I want the rematch. Oh, I want to move up to 126. Oh, I want the rematch. You're going back and forth. What the hell do you want? You want the rematch? You want to move to 126? They said, oh, I want to fight him at 126. Why? He beats you in this weight class. You and both champions in this weight class. You don't want to fight him at 122? Why should he go to 126?
Brandon Figueroa is massive for 122 pounds. You could clearly see the size advantage, the reach advantage. I don't know how he scales down to 122, but at 126 pounds, unfortunately, he's with PBC. He's the kind of guy I want to see with Navarrete, the top-ranked featherweight champion, my favorite 126-pound champion. It is time for Brandon Figueroa to abandon 122. You can see how emaciated he is when he, like Teofimo Lopez, that whole weight train thing. Like, I'm not buying it because he's made. It's not like he had to go backstage and get butt naked in any of his last fights. I'm not buying that. I would like to see these two fight on, but listen, Stephen Fulton's earned the right now to move on. He's now a unified champion, and the guy I really want to see him against is MJ. I don't know how that's going to work with promotional with that MJ guy. I think he's a phenomenal talent. But you want to know who else? I just
gotta say this.
Yeah.
Philly, stand up!
There's another guy I like, too, against Stephen Fulton, and that's the former champion, Danny Roman, who was on one of HCP's shows, and I was lucky enough to be on that panel to interview him. Danny Roman, a former 122 champ, who would be a tough fight. He's kind of like revived his career. That's a tough fight for him, as well as Aleem, that was on the undercard. Aleem is a star in the making as well. Got another win. All those fights are exciting, Drew, at 122 pounds. But let's carry on. Let's carry on. Congratulations to Philadelphia for that.
I just hope, my bad. I just hope Figueroa learns from this. I really don't think he should be a phone booth fighter. He has so much reach and his height and everything. And he can use that jab to neutralize his opponent and easily win fights if he wants to, man. But he has a bad trainer. I think Jo Jo Diaz is a horrible trainer in my eyes.
Oh, shit.
I just don't think he never was a good trainer, because here's my thing. He did the same thing with Timothy Bradley. I never thought Timothy Bradley was a phone booth type of guy. I thought he was more of a boxer. And he easily got that dude destroyed by Pradikov. So
Provodnikov, yeah.
I don't know.
Provodnikov, yeah, that was a great fight. All right, let's move on to our predictions, because it is kind of late and a lot of people have tuned out, but this will be good for the replay audience. Let me see, we got a little off topic, but I'm looking forward to seeing you and your wife hanging out with Manny and Julie. MPX 2000, thanks for coming into the room. No doubt, I hope to be back in Vegas hanging out with those guys. They're a riot. I love Manny and Julie, and they bring a lot of joy into watching their live streams for sure. So shout out to MPX 2000, Drew. When I was in Vegas, Drew, we were on a live stream, and it's like a lot of fun. Vegas live streams, it's the way to go, man, if you can't be in Vegas. So shout out to Manny and Julie. Drew, we're going to talk about Devin Haney and his email title, the WBC franchise title it is. But Jo Jo Diaz started his career at 122, one of the best of his crop of his Olympic year. He's a former Olympian, and he's done everything right, including beating people he wasn't supposed to beat this year, people like Tevin Farmer, and coming up and fighting Javier Fortuna, that Ryan Lion Garcia didn't want to fight Javier Fortuna. Remember that? Remember he was supposed to fight him, and I don't even know what happened on that one. I just Hawaii vacation. But Devin,
I don't know.
Listen, Jo Jo Diaz stepped up and not only, but decisively beat Javier Fortuna, get himself in this position. He wanted this Devin Haney fight. He's got the big balls, man. And with inspiration from this Kambosos performance, is he primed to pull off an upset too? Because I'm seriously, if I was in Las Vegas or if I'm going to go hit up a online sports bet, I would seriously consider putting some money on Jo Jo Diaz.
Should I pick upset this time? Because
It's
I've been
tough.
right.
He's very undersized. Let's be clear. JoJo, Nando Lama says, does Kambosos and JoJo look like twins? Yeah, they do, especially with the crazy hair. Listen, JoJo's got that heart, man. He's been doing a lot of stuff he's not supposed to be doing, but I know he's undersized. But one thing going for JoJo is that Devin Haney, according to BoxRec, has not faced a southpaw professionally. And all the sparring that I've seen Devin Haney do online that's available to see versus southpaws is really not that great. You gotta step away for a second. All right, guys. So I'll talk to you guys in the chat. Listen, first of all, I applaud Jo Jo Diaz for demanding this fight. While everyone else has been managing to avoid each other, everyone else has been evading each other and taking off the tough challenges. He wants that. Drew, you with us?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about the southpaw issue. Devin Haney is a spectacular technician. Okay, we've seen his skills against people like Jorge Linares. But Jo Jo Diaz is a very different type of fighter, and he's in his prime. In his prime, where Jorge Linares is absolutely not in his prime. What can he do to be the spoiler this weekend?
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. You saw Linares fight, and he got a good punch off on Haney and hurt him badly.
Absolutely.
He could have finished him if the referee didn't let Haney hold for a round and a half straight. I really think JoJo has to get inside. If he can get inside, be the aggressor, Haney's gonna have a lot of trouble. It's all about getting inside on Haney, because I think Haney is going to be the guy on the outside.
I see Drew reading the comments. Drew with the late night booty calls. Man, I'm really praying for Jo Jo Diaz's outcome, because honestly, like, I've had it with this year with this whole Four Kings bullshit at lightweight division, 135 pounds. For Devin Haney to get upset by Jo Jo Diaz would be, in my eyes, would be tremendous. It'd be a fantastic way to end this funny year of 2021 in the sport of boxing. For one thing, I know that if Jo Jo Diaz wins this fight, he don't give a shit. He will fly to Australia, go way down under, and fight Kambosos. And I do not believe that Devin Haney wants anything to do with being a B-side to an Australian superstar, international superstar. Devin Haney will not fight George Kambosos should he win this Saturday. He'll be content with these fringe contenders and prospects that Eddie Hearn is going to throw at him. And that's why I am not excited to see Devin Haney win this fight. I'm rooting for Jo Jo Diaz, but I think it's going to be extremely tough. So I say hedge your bets, put some money on JoJo, but realistically, he's got a lot to overcome, including size, speed, height advantage. You done, Drew? Everything good?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just getting a text from my brother.
Yeah, so Nando Lama says JoJo needs to take advantage of Haney being a slow starter, aggressively taking the early rounds and turn up the pressure. I agree on that. And also, Drew, you pointed out, man, that Devin Haney's chin is suspect at this point now. After seeing Linares rock him, I thought, wow, if that was Teofimo, when that happened, I thought if that was Teofimo, it would have been lights out for Devin Haney. Of course, things have changed rapidly.
I got my pick.
All right, let's hear it.
I'm picking Jo Jo Diaz by 9th round TKO. I think he gets inside, he nails Haney, and knocks Devin Haney out. And the referee stops it before the knockout punch happens.
Oh, man.
Somebody's knocking on my door.
I wish that was it. I wish that was the case, Drew. I'm going to go on to the last fight and just kind of freestyle until Drew comes back. The last fight again is, well, shit, man. Have you guys probably heard about this one? Let me get this picture up. Is it this one here? Yeah, this last fight. Okay, Sunday. Pay-per-view. Are you willing to spend the money? I got a lot of casual fans, guys. I got a lot of friends that only watch like these pay-per-views because they got these boxes that they can illegally stream at any fight. And they're like, oh, who's Gervonta Davis fighting? Why is he fighting Pitbull? I'm like, what are you talking about? Oh, I heard he's fighting Pitbull. Like, I heard celebrity fights and whatnot, and Pitbull's fighting now. I'm like, no, he's not fighting Pitbull the singer, you idiot. And it doesn't help that there's shit like this going around the internet that Gervonta Davis is fighting Pitbull. He's fighting Pitbull. I say, Cruz, pendejo. I told him. But yeah, I am not excited at all in any way to purchase this Showtime pay-per-view. For one thing, I really think Gervonta Davis is extremely talented. And unlike Teofimo Sr., who we started off the show with, we're talking about his dad impeding him. Gervonta Davis's dad, unfortunately, I believe he was in the foster care, that's wrecking his career is none other than Floyd Mayweather, who's cherry-picking every opponent for Gervonta Davis, not giving him the real test, not putting himself in a position to show his true worth. I mean, beating up people like Mario Barrios, a fringe contender with a paper title at 140, that's limited right there as far as impressing boxing pugilists. We know that he's going to get past tests like that, all right? He's jumping up and down. It's the same thing that, people who don't agree with Canelo Alvarez accuse him of doing, cherry-picking fighters who've got belts. I mean, the same argument could be made about Gervonta Davis, but Floyd has convinced his friends over at Showtime that he's a pay-per-view star, and so that's why we have to put up with these wackadoodle fights on Sunday evening against fringe contenders like Isaac Cruz from Mexico, who's a tough guy, but maybe even less known than Raleigh Romero, who unfortunately got himself in some legal troubles. You guys all know the Raleigh Romero drama that happened that forced him to be out of this fight. So here we are with a replacement fighter in Isaac Cruz. I think it's going to be extremely, extremely difficult to sell this fight on Sunday. Tyrone Spencer's LOL funny. I'm going to sub so I can come back here and see response video. People know styles make fights. No way JoJo wins. I didn't give my pick, by the way, and that's a really tough one. I was pretty clear that I'm really rooting for JoJo, but he's got a lot of handicaps against him. This is going to be a tall test to pass Devin Haney. Devin Haney is a spectacular boxer, but of course that wild card is how much power do you need to hurt Devin Haney and finish him? Jo Jo Diaz is at peak in his performance. He's an Olympian. Actually touted by USA Boxing as one of the best in his class in the Olympics, which is more than I can say about Devin Haney, even though Devin Haney was an outstanding amateur standout. So I will go with the safe bet on this one and say Devin Haney by decision. But we watch boxing. We watch boxing because, hey, anything can happen. You know what I mean? Kambosos was a 13-1 underdog. Drew, we got a caller. I want to take this call real quick. Carlos Villalobos, thank you for joining us. Let's take this call real quick, Drew. Hey, 510, you're on the air with the Shoeshine.
Hey, Drew. Hey, Shoeshine, it's me, Nando. What are you guys doing, man?
Hey, Nando, thanks for calling us, homie. What's on your mind?
Well, I see a lot of in JoJo. I see a lot what I saw in Kambosos, man. Not just that they look alike, but they both seem really focused to me, right? Like JoJo's last fight against Fortuna, man, I just saw a whole different JoJo in that fight, right? He just looked really intense, really focused. And I think JoJo's coming into his own right now, man. I'm not saying anything against Devin Haney. Devin Haney, I favor him as well, like 55-45, right? But I'm not going to be surprised if JoJo pulls off the upset. It'll be a small upset to me, man, because if anything, I think I put some money on JoJo this weekend if I was a gambling type person.
I hear you, and I totally agree with that. And Jo Jo Diaz had his own battles with depression this year as well. He was very vocal about them. He had a lot of drama going on, and he even pointed out that he was starting to suffer from alcohol abuse. And then, like, his life turned around. He got in focus. He had a child. his own child. These are all things that should be motivating Teofimo to revive his own career. What Jo Jo Diaz has done to his own career. And what Jo Jo Diaz has done is phenomenal because, like I said, he started off his career at 122. He's gone up to 126, being a world champion, 130, and now he's all the way up to 135. And that's my only concern this weekend is just the size. I mean, it doesn't go so well when you move up too far in weight and the competition gets steeper and steeper. But you're right, man. It wouldn't be a bad thing to put money on him.
I think I put in the chat earlier. I think JoJo, if he wants to win this fight, you need to take advantage of it. Devin starting a little bit slow, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Devin likes to take his time and kind of lay back, kind of the same Mayweather style, you know. And if JoJo starts aggressive, maybe he starts winning a few of the early rounds, he'll put the pressure on Haney to catch up, right? There's just no way that JoJo can come from behind to win this fight. He has to jump out ahead. It doesn't matter what to win this fight. And I think that'll be key to the fight. I think the first 4 rounds will be telling. You know, if JoJo jumps out ahead, he could very well, you know, take the whole fight from Haney. You know, a lot of people underestimate JoJo too, man. Like you mentioned, man, this kid is very talented, man. He was a former Olympian, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so JoJo is talented in his own right. You know, he deserves to be taken seriously. He dominated Javier Fortuna a few months ago, man. That was a fight that nobody else wanted to fight either. Nobody wanted to fight Fortuna. JoJo stepped up and fought him and kind of dismantled him, man. Took him apart.
There's a lot to be said about momentum and being active, right? There's a lot to be said about that.
Hands down is JoJo Diaz.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The best fight this weekend, hands down, is JoJo Diaz versus Devin Haney. And I don't need to pay $80 to watch Tank Davis take off some more cannon fodder, man. Like that whole fight with him and Isaac Cruz, that might have been an okay fight for regular Showtime. No way it's an $80 pay-per-view, man. That's kind of BS, man.
Oh, I
don't know what Steven Espinosa is doing at Showtime. Huh?
$80?
Well,
wow.
Supposedly,
that's high.
Supposedly, from what I was hearing, that Isaac Cruz was the original opponent for Tank Davis until Rocky Romero exercised his mandatory to fight Tank Davis. But that's what Rocky Romero says. Isaac Cruz was the original opponent. But I don't understand the logic on how you could put C-class fighters with Tank on pay-per-view and expect to make profit from it. I'm going to be honest with you, and I don't like saying this, but there's really a lot of delusional boxing fans. Seriously.
Well, there might be delusional boxing promoters, Drew. I mean, I went to Crawford versus Porter, a fight that actually sold out. The live gate was completely sold out. There was no empty seats. In fact, the resales were going for considerably higher. And then I come home and I'm like, this can't have been a bad pay-per-view. It had to have done at least 500,000. And what I hear is like the shit sold less than 200,000 pay-per-views with Sean Porter, a well-known name, with Bud Crawford, a pound-for-pound top 5, top 3 fighter. That did less than 200,000. Nando, what do you think Gervonta Davis is doing pay-per-view numbers on a Sunday when everyone else watching football for free?
Well, apparently his last pay-per-view didn't even do 200,000, you know? So why is he on pay-per-view? Like, you know, Bob Arum, he gets accused of being, like, behind on the times and all this other stuff. I think Floyd Mayweather's behind the times, too, man. He's putting these bums against people on pay-per-view. I haven't seen this since, like, the early 2000s. When you would see like De La Hoya fight some nobody on pay-per-view, right? Like you would see that every once in a while. But Tank Davis isn't De La Hoya, man. He's not even Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather is fighting the Mexican of the Month Club and making big money off of it, right? That's what he's doing with Tank Davis. He's just throwing any kind of Mexican he can find in with Tank Davis and thinks that's good enough, right? It's the same, the exact same Mayweather game plan, man. I've seen it before already, man. You know, he made a lot of money fighting a bunch of no-hoper Mexicans, man. Guerrero. Ortiz. I mean, the list goes on and on with Mayweather, man. He's doing the exact thing to Tank Davis, you know?
Here's the point when it came to the 190K pay-per-view buys for the Porter Crawford fight. Bob Arum, bad business decision. All around bad business decision because he didn't have it to pay cable providers, number one. He only solely had it on, if you want to buy the pay-per-view, you got to buy on ESPN Plus on the app. That's it.
And you know, Drew, immediately after that fight, when Terrence Crawford found out how bad the pay-per-view numbers were, and you know, he separated from Bob immediately after in the post-fight press conference, he said, everyone in my town told me that they could not find out how the F to buy that pay-per-view. They was telling me, I can't find it on the TV. I don't know, like how I usually click this thing here on my TV or my direct TV. And they're like, where's the app? I mean, he had somewhat of a valid point. I mean, not everybody knows how to use the phone.
This fight alone should done pay $500K in pay-per-view buys because these are two of the top 5 watch rates. And number 2, how the hell does Bob Arum? Bob Arum is really a horrible promoter in my eyes, because you say these comments about Crawford. I go broke promoting Terrence Crawford. How you go broke promoting Terrence Crawford? It's your fault that you can't promote him right, because it's your fault you can't hook him up with the best fighters. You try to hook him up with people that are moving up from 140 that you have in your stable. You even try to, and then where you found out he wasn't really committed to fighting a moving up Josh Taylor. He wanted all Spencer Ugas. You didn't want to do anything to even make this pay-per-view work out, man. So at the end of the day, I'm glad he left Bob Arum. Screw Bob Arum. At the end of the day, I approve the decision of him going in business for himself, because it might work out for him at the end. But Bob Arum, man, that's if you look at boxing is the day of age where you are a great fighter. You can go and not have a promoter, and you can promote yourself and be a free agent and go around these different promotions and work with them and fight their best guy and beat them and build relationships off of. Like Canelo was doing it now. Floyd did it. Oscar built his own promotional company off of it. Fury said, if Bob or Frank Warren cannot give me a fight in February, I'm firing both of them, and I'm promoting myself Jesse King's promotion. This is what boxing's headed into. These promoters are only going to get these guys, some of these up-and-coming guys for the beginning of the career. When they realize how good they are, they're going to cut ways from them, because they know they're pulling them back. They're holding them back. And Mayweather, he doesn't want to cash out on Tank for a big fight. He doesn't believe Tank can beat a Lomachenko. He can't beat a Devin Haney.
Maybe even a Teofimo. I'm going to go ahead and give my prediction. It's getting late. We were going into the late night hours.
Can I say one thing about Bob Arum?
Yeah, go ahead, Nando. Yeah,
Nando. Can I say one thing? Well, first of all, Drew, you're being naive if you think Bob Arum, it was his decision to put it on ESPN Plus. That was ESPN's decision, 100%. And you know who's never complained about being on ESPN Plus? The UFC, the #1 pay-per-view provider in the whole country, right? They've never complained. Crawford, how many reviews this fight against Amir Khan sell? From what I heard, it wasn't even 100,000 buys. Where was his excuse in? You know? Where was the excuses in? All the anecdotal stuff about his hometown couldn't buy the pay-per-view. He's just pointing fingers, man. And now, you think Al Heyman wants to get stuck trying to pay off both Spence and Crawford for a $500,000 buy pay-per-view now? He's got to give each one guy $10 million to make that fight. He's going to lose his butt on making that fight, right?
I think it's going to be
more.
Bob
Arum to put that fight on on ESPN Plus.
It's very expensive. The idea, you're right, and that's probably why Bob wasn't pushing that. He was pushing what in-house with Josh Taylor, like, oh, I'll get you the Josh Taylor fight. It doesn't seem he's interested on a one-off deal with Bob. A point you made there that was pretty that I like, Nando, is that the UFC is dominating over at ESPN Plus in terms of pay-per-view sales. So is the problem ESPN Plus, or is the problem promoting boxing? It's a discussion we can have.
It's Crawford, man. Him and Triple G were separated at birth, man. They both point fingers, and they both got a lot of excuses, man. They always pointing fingers, always making excuses, man. But they can't carry a pay-per-view by themselves. Never have, never will. It's just the bottom line. Hey, I appreciate you guys taking my phone call, dude.
Take care, Nando. We're going to wrap it up. Man. Thanks, Nando. Drew,
all right, bye.
He makes a good point about Bob, I'm sorry about Terrence Crawford. I mean, I can't deny Terrence Crawford's skill set, what he's brought to the table. He's going to be a future Hall of Famer. He's a pound for pound. But in terms of likability, even my wife's like, he's just not really a likable guy. He's not somebody I'm like, oh, I'm cheering for Terrence Crawford. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't have the charisma that Floyd Mayweather had that made Floyd Mayweather a pay-per-view star. Maybe that's Bob's problem with it. I don't know, man. Let's get on with our predictions. I know you got something to say, but let's get on, man. Does Gervonta Davis go 12 rounds with Isaac Cruz?
No, this is another. I'm going to be honest. I'm about to the point that I don't even want to talk about Gervonta Davis until he fights somebody that's really a top quality fighter. And I'm not, and I don't want these people to say, "Oh, what about Leo Santa Cruz?" Leo Santa Cruz came up from 122 to fight him at 135.
Yeah, exactly what Jo Jo Diaz is gonna do.
Yeah, he's never fought a legitimate 135-pounder. He's fought a legitimate 140-pound fighter, but he fought a C-class fighter. Other than that, he's only fought C-class fighters. Gamboa, C-class fighter, went 12 rounds with him on one freaking leg. It made him look bad on one freaking leg. Like, what is the point? And then when you have Floyd during the press conference, we're gonna keep it in house, you know. Mm-hmm. We have some top.
No, I know that whole PBC theory he has about keeping it in house, and that's totally bullshit because these are the list of 5 guys that I need to see Gervonta Davis fight in no particular order. Ryan Garcia, who thinks he's a superstar, that will sell if that's all Floyd's after pay-per-view numbers. That'll sell. Devin Haney, Teofimo Lopez, who could fight him at 140 or 135. Lomachenko, a former pound-for-pound great. And if you really want to throw a big fight, you take your boy Gervonta Davis down to the land down under and you go to Australia and you fight the reigning, almost undisputed champ and George Kambosos at 135 pounds. If you really want to sell some tickets.
They don't care. They take that $200K pay-per-view buys every time they can. They don't care. They don't want to cash out on Tank, and it's going to get to the point. Then what the hell is he doing then? He has a fake belt which the WBA does not recognize anymore because they done away with secondary belts, which PBC and Showtime is trying to promote as a champion fight, which I don't understand. I just don't understand this logic anymore. I think people should really boycott BS like this.
There's one way we could boycott it, and that's by not buying it and making sure those pay-per-view numbers are low. And send a message. Send a message to Mr. Floyd Mayweather and say, hey, put him in with some legit talent, and we'll actually consider paying for Gervonta Davis. I just named 5 guys who I wouldn't mind seeing him in with, and it's definitely not Isaac Cruz. That would barely be a free Saturday night fight for me, to be honest. So I will not buy it. I'll read about it, and I'll watch the highlights. That being said, I think Gervonta Davis disposes of Isaac Cruz in less than 8 rounds. All right.
5.
And less than 8 rounds. It could be anywhere. It could be 5. You're right. But Drew, I'm going to wrap up the show. I'm going to give my final thoughts. Listen, what George Kambosos did this weekend is why most people love the sport of boxing. I mean, it's the true. If a fan of like the movie Rocky, if that turned you on to the sport of boxing, this is the real life deal, man. This guy went against all odds, 13-1 underdog. He believed in himself, and he talked so much shit, and he backed it up. Even to the point where he said he was probably going to knock down Teofimo in round 1. He did that with a clean, thunderous right hand. I mean, he did that. So how can you not root for the guy? Yes, he is in total control of his own destiny now, and being with Lou DiBella and Peter Kahn, a fantastic manager, they can draw somebody down to Australia where he can defend his championship for the first time in his home country, he's been on the road for most of these fights. So that is the true winner of the week in my eyes, George Kambosos. And I look forward to all the rest of the year, man. There's still a handful of interesting things. I don't know if you know, Drew, but this Triple G fight is in jeopardy. Japan is closing its borders. So I think Triple G needs to get on a flight ASAP or get an exemption from the government of Japan. But they're so afraid of the new virus, whatever, Omicron, that they're shutting the borders down to all international travel. So I don't even know if they're going to have the fight. I mean, who knows what's going to happen, man?
Welcome against Andre.
But Triple G is ready to go, and they said that if he's got to get on a plane ASAP, that's what he's going to have to do. And that's the last fight of the year. I'll be honest with you. It's not like I'm looking forward to the next Showtime pay-per-view between Jake Paul and Tommy Fury. I mean, I'm not buying that one either. Sorry.
Why would I?
All right, Drew, the floor is yours, man. It's a big week for you. Some people considered you a Teofimo hater. Rough on you. He's polarizing, but this weekend changed a lot of things.
Like I said all along, he couldn't fight backing up, and he had no inside game. And what happened? All came true. What can I say? I got the call wrong. I thought he was gonna get I thought Kambosos would get knocked out in 5. We all got it wrong, actually. But end of the day, man, Teofimo actually got his ass whooped, and he talked all this trash. His dad talked all this trash, and his son got his ass whooped. And then he went on an interview and said his son won 10-2, and the guy just looked at him like this. Like, you're delusional, bro.
Listen, he's got a lot of soul searching to do. How he's going to rebuild his career, we'll see how it pans out for him. There's a lot of other interesting fighters to talk about. Unfortunately, now it's going to be like next week. It'll be old news. And hopefully with the holidays, he can spend some time and regroup. I wish him the best. I wish all fighters the best who jeopardize their lives for the entertainment of sports fans like you and I. I'm Dave from the 408, and this is my homeboy, Drew Evo. This is the Shoeshine. We'll be back next Monday to talk about the sport of boxing. Until then, you can follow me at the Mike and Dave 1 on Twitter. Drew, give us your social media handles out.
You can follow me on Twitter at Drew Evo, Instagram at Drew Evo, follow my Twitch at Philly Irish Drew Evo. That's about it.
All right, man. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for hanging with the Shoeshine. Peace out, guys. Peace.